Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and this is my week in books, tarot, and art. So the first thing I'll go through is the books I read. I read Miriam Toews' All My Puny Sorrows. I've read A Complicated Kindness, but I can't remember it, so oops. I did remember Women Talking, which I liked but didn't love, but this book I loved. It was so good. It's so, now there is a warning for suicidal ideation in this book, so just, if you can't listen to that, skip this bit. But it's two sisters. One is a pianist, one is sort of a more ordinary person, and it's basically a really personal story about their relationship. The pianist tries to kill herself, and so most of it's set in the hospital as she's perhaps or perhaps not trying to recover, and how her sister and everybody around them sort of cope or don't cope very well. It's a very Canadian Mennonite story, which is lovely, and it's so moving. It's a really powerful book, and the writing is magnificent, and the two characters are just so entertaining. And despite the fact it's very sad in some places, it's also really funny in places. So it's got a good balance of just all sorts of different strange pieces of this, that, and the other that make up a life. So yeah, really loved that book. And then I read In the Shadow of the Banyan Tree. I actually listened to this as an audiobook, and it was good, but not as amazing as some of the reviews I'd read had led me to anticipate. So it's a story of the Cambodian genocide, which is depressing and violent. It's a beautifully written book. Like, the language in the book is beautiful and poetic, but bizarrely that's kind of part of the problem, because the narrator is like 7 or 8 years old, and there's just no way. Like, listen, I was a precocious kid. I'm familiar with precocious kids. There's no earthly way that, first of all, you remember your life in that much detail from when you're 7, even if it's so emotionally impactful. And second of all, that you would write about it with that much insight as a 7-year-old. If it had been narrated by the woman as an adult looking back on her 7-year-old self, that would have been a different matter. But it was just really jarring sometimes to know that these words were supposedly coming out of the mouth of a 7-year-old. Like, it just didn't, I don't know, it was weird. Also, there were moments where I was supposed to sympathize with the rich royal family. Now, I know that if a kid is born into a royal family, it's not the kid's fault that they're, living in luxury and whatever. That's just, the luck of the draw. But there were a few moments. Now, I'm never going to side with genocidaires, so I'm not saying they were right in any way, because they weren't. But there were a couple of moments where she seemed to expect me to sympathize with everything that the royal family had lost in terms of all their, living in luxury, and I'm just sorry, but nope. You'll survive the loss of that. Now, the loss of murdered family members, that's I can understand the devastation of that. So it was a strange book, because on the one hand the writing was beautiful, on the other hand there were just some things about it that were jarring as I read it. So I don't know, it was weird, but kind of good, but also I don't know. So anyway, that was that one. I did add that to my read around the world passport for Cambodia. So that was fun, because it is based on the true, the actual experiences of, what's her name? Is it about, here it is, Vaddey Ratner. She was a little kid during the genocide, and she is part of the royal family. And I think she lives in the US now. And so it was interesting that it was partially her experiences, but yeah, I don't know. That was a strange one. And then I read this today, literally listened to it all in one day. It was so much fun. This is Jar City by Arnaldur Indriðason, a Reykjavik murder mystery. So he's Icelandic. And there's a detective, Arnaldur, who, it's just sort of an ordinary, I don't know, ordinary sounds maybe a bit insulting. It's not meant to be, but it's a really good Nordic sort of mystery. And I do love discovering a new to me Nordic writer, particularly of mysteries. They're just, I don't know, they've got it figured out somehow, and it's good fun, and I love that sort of genre. So there's a whole series of these. I'm going to read The Draining Lake next because it's based on an actual lake in Iceland that I will see when I'm there later this year. And it's just, the lake sounds weird because all of the water from the lake comes up from the ground through these volcanic rocks. There are no rivers or tributaries or anything into the lake. And so when there was an earthquake one year and the lake started draining back out of these rocks. And so this Draining Lake is based on that. Anyway, it was fun. It seemed to be well written. It seemed to be well translated. I enjoyed it. I will read more of his books. So that was my bookish journey. And then, oh yeah, here's one more sort of book. It is a book, but it's not a novel. It's Lida Pavlova's The Library of Questions. So she is on Instagram. I really like her Instagram account. She posts tarot spreads, and that's how I found out about her. But also other sort of magical things. And yeah, it's really fun. Her account is really fun. But this book is also delightful. She's really, I don't know, they're creative. They're not, like, sometimes in a little white book you just sort of get 2 or 3 of the spreads that everybody's seen before. Sometimes they're more creative and related to that deck, and sometimes they're just not. And I'm sort of bored of those ones at this point. Like, how many past, present, and future spreads do you want to do? I don't know. But these are just, they're super fun. And, okay, to be fair, I've only done a few of them. But I enjoy them. And there are a couple that what's this one that I'm going to do? 5 herbs. A good luck spread for Lida. I can't remember when Lida's, the summer solstice. That's like right now. Was it the summer solstice yesterday? I think it was, as I'm recording this. Anyway, I don't tend to follow the Wiccan Wheel of the Year because it doesn't really align up with where I am. Just in terms of the weather and the climate and everything. But anything to do with plants, I'm kind of a sucker for that. So I will do this probably later today. I did get a deck that I've used with it a little bit, which is Tarot of the She. This is not a new deck. It's new to me deck, but it's not. It's been around for a minute. This is by Emily Cardin, and it's really beautiful. I like her artwork. It's not quite naive art, but it's got, because like there's no way a child can draw like this, but it's got that sort of childlike quality. And it's got a good balance of positive and negative. It's got some interesting keywords that sometimes I don't like keywords on tarot decks, but this one I don't mind it so far. This one is weird. Like, why would you pick a Greek god for a Celtic deck? But whatever. I'll just think of them as Carinus or something. But yeah, it's really interesting. I've been into the guidebook a little bit because it's written in these little, where are the little poems? So here we go. So there's more of a write-up for the majors, I guess. But then for the minors, this is kind of my favorite part. There's little poems that go with all the minors, which I really enjoy. Some of them are really well written. Yeah, so I'm enjoying this a lot. Pentagram career spread. Might do that sometime. Anyway, it's a really interesting deck, and I'm enjoying it so far. And yeah, so I will do this with more of the Library of Questions. There's also a tarot readathon coming up in July that's run by Deja. What's her channel called? Oh, I can't remember. I'll link it down below. Deja's channel. It's Deja something. Deja Reads, maybe? I can't remember. Anyway, beside the point. The point is, she and Noelle and a few other people do this readathon called the Tarot Readathon. And it's super fun, and basically they've got a list of prompts that connect tarot cards to book prompts, and then you draw your cards and pick your book based on those prompts. I did it last year, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, highly recommend. I am Team Pentacles. The teams are the different suits, and they've got a Discord, so you can sign up for that and see the prompts and everything. It's good fun. The other deck that, I think I've talked about this before, but did I last week? Yeah, I think I did. Anyway, I've still been using this one. This is When Olga Speaks. So these are mostly the two decks I've used this week. Not particularly together, because they just, I don't know, are quite different. But it's so pretty. I like it a lot. I think she's developing a new deck now, which also looks intriguing, but I may have to wait until we live in a post-Trump crazy tariffs world before I can afford that one. So we'll see. But yeah, I like her work a lot. Sasha Lopez. She makes some really thoughtful connections between things in the imagery and the keywords. I really like it. And it's already black. It got black edges, which no complaints from me. That's cute. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm into it. So I've been enjoying this deck this week. It's a funny one to say you enjoy, because it's like, it's a tribute to, I think, her grandmother? Yeah, I think that's her grandmother. So on the one hand, there is a connection with death and memory and remembrance of people, which I appreciate. I love it. It's beautiful. But it is a little bit funny to say you love it. But I do love it. It's for those who seek the voice of the elder. Yeah, I totally get that from this. It's fantastic. Okay, then arts and crafts. So I'm gonna get this out of the way first because it takes up too much space. The stag is the animal of the month over at Tegan's Animals and Arcana Discord, if you're part of her Patreon, which I've only been this year for a few months, so I'm new. But I decided to break out the charcoals and try and draw it, and this is not finished yet. I did use a workable fixative so I wouldn't make a mess as I moved this around and thought about what to do next, because there are some, I'm using a photo reference for this, and there are some more like finer craggly lines, and just, you know, to make it look a bit older and more worn and not so shiny and fresh. But it's been a lot of fun to work on. I did have to Google how antlers are attached to a skull, which is by these, I think they're called pedicules, two little knobs. They don't sit right on top of the head. They sit either side of the skull with these little attachments. It's really interesting. I went down a whole Wikipedia rabbit hole with that, trying to figure out how that worked. So that's one thing I've been working on. And then I was working on, so I did some purple color studies in trying to get back into acrylics lately and just sort of playing around. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just having fun. I joke that it's my midlife crisis because, I've turned 40 now, so I'm allowed. And so acrylic painting is it, I guess. I don't know, safer than motorcycles. But anyway, so I did the purple sort of studies and experiments with color mixing, and then I did green. And I got a bit stuck on a couple of these, so I added, I don't know if you can really tell, yeah, some other papers, which you can only kind of sort of see a bit through, but it just gave me something more to work off of. And then these were other sort of earthier, muddier greens. And then this gave me an idea, and I went on a little side quest and did more of that with some of these yellows, which is basically mostly cadmium yellow, because it looks very much like canola fields to me, like that color of canola. And I'm from Saskatchewan, so it's all canola and wheat fields for as far as you can see, and then some. So I did these sort of studies of what it feels like to me looking down at the prairies from the sky, and just playing with textures. And I've really got to work on browns next. That's my next project, because mixing the browns was not my strong suit. I don't really know what I'm doing there yet. so I gotta practice that. Yeah, so that was fun. And then I did some doodling in these little, these are fun because they sort of fit in my hand and I have little hands, but then I can take a pen or two out on a walk and not be intimidated by passersby looking at things, because it's easy to sort of conceal, and then you don't have to worry about people watching you, because that feels a bit uncomfortable. But it is kind of fun to draw outside from life rather than from photos. Last night I was too lazy to get up and go outside, plus it was raining, so I just doodled some of my indoor plants from my couch. What else have I done recently? There were some sounds I did. Oh yeah, I did some clouds in a couple of places. I think there are clouds on this side. It's been a very stormy spring. Here's some more clouds. I'm trying to get the shadows of the clouds. That was kind of interesting. That was in May. Oh yeah, I did a rose. So that was from my phone, and I just tried to do I tried to do no outlines until the very, very end when I kind of did a couple. But I just did the shadows. And that was it. So that was fun. And same with this light. I was just playing with making different marks and playing with the light and shadows. And there is a weird, like, depending on what angle you're looking at it from, the light does not come out evenly. It's funny. I'd never noticed that before, and now I have. I think that's all in this one. This is very random doodles. And then this one is, oh yeah, I tried to draw a northern flicker in the park, but it's a kind of, I don't know if you can see that very well. It's a kind of woodpecker that digs in the ground for its grub, and it moves way too fast. So I only sort of got some suggestions of the lines. And then the hawthorn that I visited, I love that one. I'd never actually looked at it closely enough to notice the 5 sort of little, I don't know what that part of a plant is called. I'll look that up. Some pigeons were eating their dinner. A little sparrow that looks like a mouse because it ran away before I was finished with it. What else? Did I show this last time? I don't know if I showed the magpie last time. I can't remember. But I tried this one first and it didn't work very well. So then I tried it again and it worked much better, because I really wanted that, like, the body shape is more accurate, but there's the little sassy foot as he was prancing around the park. And then I did a bumblebee from a photo and sort of from life, because I found a dead bumblebee on the path on my way home from work one day, so I brought it home with me. Because when can you study a bee that close up? The wings, I shouldn't have done these really dark lines on the wings. That makes them look too clunky. I'll try again sometime. Then I studied some mallards. That was pretty fun. These were out in the park, and this was from a photo after the fact. They're pretty interesting. Look, they move surprisingly quickly for little waddling animals, but they're cute. And iridescent heads are hard to do. I don't know how you make it look iridescent with black and white, but anyway, that was my mucking about with arts and crafts this week. That was really fun. Yeah, I think that's everything. And yeah, so I've really enjoyed this week. It's made living in such a bonkers world much more bearable to find these things, ways to express myself and whatnot, and to get back into reading after a couple weeks of a slump was lovely. And so now I'm gonna go plan for the tarot readathon. Yeah. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.